The blade had not left her side in 15 years. Nadia Okonkwo walked through the diplomatic gallery of the Artemis Dawn with her hand resting on the worn leather handle. Her grandmother had given it to her on her 18th birthday, forged from iron that fell from the sky 300 years ago. The other security officers carried plasma rifles and stun batons. Nadia carried history. Around her, the gallery buzzed with activity. 7 alien species had gathered on this human ship to discuss trade routes and territorial boundaries. It was the largest diplomatic summit in galactic history, and humanity had been invited only because they owned the neutral vessel a Valani diplomat glided past, her translucent blue skin catching the light like water under moonlight. She stood nearly 8 feet tall and moved as if gravity was just a suggestion. Behind her, a group of Korvathi warriors clustered together, their armored scales clicking as they spoke in low voices. They looked like walking fortresses built for war in ways that made human soldiers seem fragile. Nadia did not feel fragile. She felt ready that a Thessi delegate approached her, his crystalline body chiming with each step. His face, if it could be called that, was a smooth surface of living glass that reflected everything around him. "You carry a primitive weapon to a peace summit," he said. His voice sounded like wind through hollow tubes. "This is considered barbaric among civilized species." Nadia smiled. "Where I come from, we call it being prepared." The Thessi made a sound that might have been laughter or disgust. It was hard to tell. He moved away without another word. The opening ceremony began an hour later. Representatives from all 7 species gathered in the central chamber, a vast room with transparent walls that showed the dying star outside. The star burned red and orange, its light painting everything in shades of fire. Humanity had chosen this location specifically because no species claimed it. Neutral ground for neutral talks. Ambassador Rilith of the Valani rose to speak. Her voice carried easily through the chamber, soft but clear. "We gather here to build bridges," she said, "to find common ground among species who have, until now, known only separation." The lights flickered. Nadia's hand moved to her blade without thought. Around the room, she saw alien faces turning toward the ceiling, toward the walls, toward anywhere the lights had stuttered. The flicker lasted only a second, but it was enough to silence the room. Chief Engineer Santos spoke through the communication system. "Solar interference from a star. Nothing to worry about. Systems are stable." The tension eased. Conversations resumed. Ambassador Rilith continued her speech, but Nadia did not relax. Something felt wrong. The air tasted different, like metal on her tongue. She scanned the room, looking for threats, looking for anything out of place. Everything seemed normal. Delegates talked in small groups. Security officers stood at their posts. The dying star burned outside the windows, normal. All normal. Why was her blade warm against her hip? After the ceremony, Ambassador Rilith found Nadia standing near the observation deck. The human woman was staring at the star, her expression unreadable. "You carry yourself like a warrior," Rilith said. "Yet your species has only traveled among the stars for 60 years. You are children compared to the rest of us." "Children grow up fast where I come from," Nadia replied. "Earth." Rilith spoke the word carefully, as if testing its shape. "We have studied your world. High gravity, extreme weather, predators on every continent, disease in every water source. Your planet tries to kill you constantly. It built us strong. It built you paranoid." Rilith gestured at the blade. "No other species brings weapons to diplomatic events. No other species watches the shadows like you do. Why attend summits where your voice carries little weight?" Nadia finally looked at her. "Because showing up matters, even when nobody expects you to." Rilith studied her for a long moment. Something like respect flickered across her alien features. She nodded once and walked away. That night, Nadia lay in her quarters, unable to sleep. The ship hummed around her, a constant vibration that should have been soothing. Instead, it felt like a warning. She kept thinking about the flickering lights, about the strange taste in the air, about the warmth of her blade. T3 in the morning, ship time, she finally drifted off T3:15. She woke to her blade burning against her skin. The metal glowed faintly in the darkness, pulsing with light that matched her heartbeat. Nadia sat up, her training taking over. She grabbed the blade and held it before her. The glow intensified, pointing toward the door like a compass needle finding north. Then she heard it a scream, high and terrible, coming from somewhere deep in the ship. Nadia was running before the sound faded. She burst through her door and sprinted down the corridor, following the blade's glow, following the echo of that awful scream. Other crew members were emerging from their quarters, confused and frightened. She did not stop to explain. She could not stop. Something was wrong on this ship, something that made ancient iron burn with light, and she was going to find it. The darkness ahead seemed deeper than it should be. The lights along the corridor flickered and died one by one, as if something was eating them. Nadia kept running. The body lay in the center of the corridor like a shattered mirror. Nadia skidded to a stop, her breath catching in her throat. The Thessi diplomat who had mocked her blade just hours ago was sprawled across the floor, his crystalline body cracked in a dozen places. Black veins spread through those cracks, pulsing with something that looked alive. Something wrong. She had seen death before. Earth was not kind to the weak. But this was different. This was not death. This was corruption. Other crew members arrived behind her, their footsteps slowing as they saw what she saw. Someone gasped. Someone else started praying in a language she did not understand. The ship's alarm system screamed to life. Red lights strobed along the walls. A mechanical voice echoed through every speaker. Unknown threat detected. Unknown threat detected. Counselor Drav pushed through the crowd, his massive Korvathi body forcing others aside like waves parting for a warship. He stared at the body, then at Nadia, then at the body again. His reptilian eyes narrowed. "Human," he growled. "Explain this." "I found him like this," Nadia said. "I heard a scream and ran." "Convenient." Drav's claws clicked against the floor. "Your species brings a weapon to a peace summit. Now one of our delegates is dead." The Korvathi do not believe in coincidence. Medical teams arrived before Nadia could respond. They surrounded the body with scanners and sensors, trying to determine what had happened. But their equipment kept failing. Screens flickered. Readings scrambled into nonsense. Whatever had killed the Thessi was interfering with their technology. Ambassador Rilith appeared at the edge of the crowd, her blue skin pale with shock. "This is impossible," she whispered. "The Thessi are nearly indestructible. Their bodies can survive the vacuum of space." "Something got through," Nadia said. She was watching the floor, watching those black veins that still pulsed inside the dead diplomat. They were spreading. Slowly, almost invisibly, they were creeping along the metal surface toward the nearest ventilation shaft, and no one else seemed to notice. They were too busy arguing. Drav was demanding answers. Rilith was calling for calm. Other delegates from other species were shouting accusations at each other. The corridor had become a chaos of voices and fear. Nadia kept her eyes on the black veins. Her blade grew warmer. The corruption reached the ventilation shaft and slipped inside like smoke through a crack. It was gone in seconds, vanished into the ship's air system. But Nadia had seen where it went. She was the only one who had watched. "Is still here," she said. The arguing stopped. Every eye turned to her. "Whatever killed the Thessi," she continued, "it is moving through the ship. I saw it. It went into the vents." Drav made a sound of disgust. "You expect us to believe a human soldier can see what our advanced sensors cannot." Nadia held up her blade. It was glowing faintly, the metal pulsing with soft light. This blade was forged from a meteorite that fell to Earth 3 centuries ago. It has been in my family for generations. Right now, it is telling me something is very wrong on this ship. Silence. The alien stared at the glowing blade, as if it had grown teeth. "Superstition," Drav said, but his voice was less certain than before. "Maybe." Nadia sheathed the blade. "Or maybe humans learned a long time ago to trust our instincts. On Earth, ignoring a warning sign meant dying. We evolved to pay attention." The lights went out, total darkness. the kind of darkness that pressed against your eyes like a weight. Nadia heard screams, heard bodies colliding as people stumbled blind. She stayed still. She had trained for this. Earth soldiers practiced fighting without sight because their enemies did not always attack in daylight. Something moved in the walls. Not through the vents anymore, through the walls themselves. She could hear it, a wet sliding sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Her blade burned hot enough to hurt. She drew it. The metal blazed with light, sudden and fierce, cutting through the darkness like a torch. And in that light, she saw it. The thing was made of static and shadow. It had no fixed shape, no clear form. It flickered like a broken screen, one moment seeming almost humanoid, the next spreading into something with too many limbs. It moved toward Ambassador Rilith, who stood frozen in terror. Nadia did not think. She did not plan. She moved 0.3 steps, put her between the creature and the ambassador. Her blade slashed through the air, through the static, through the shadow. The thing recoiled with a sound like breaking glass, like 1,000 voices screaming at once. Where the blade had touched it, pieces of darkness fell away and dissolved into nothing. For one moment, every alien in that corridor saw a human woman holding back something that made their weapons worthless. A human woman with an ancient blade and steady hands. The creature retreated. It pulled itself into the walls, into the ship's systems, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. The lights flickered back to life. The screaming stopped. Nadia stood with her blade raised, breathing hard, her heart pounding against her ribs. She could feel everyone staring at her. She did not care. "Now," she said quietly, "does anyone else want to call my weapon primitive?" No one answered. Ambassador Rilith was the first to move. She approached Nadia slowly, carefully, as if approaching a dangerous animal. But there was no fear in her eyes, only something that looked very much like awe. "Were you?" she asked. Nadia lowered her blade. The glow was fading, but it had not disappeared entirely. Whatever that thing was, it was still somewhere on this ship, waiting. "I'm exactly what I look like," she said. "A soldier from a planet that tried to kill us every day. We learned to fight. We learned to survive. And we never learned how to give up." In the distance, the ship's speakers crackled with static. A voice spoke through them. Not the computer. Something else. Something old. "Found you," it whispered. "Finally found you. So many minds. So many memories. So delicious." The lights flickered again. The hunt had just begun. Fear has a smell. Nadia learned this on Earth, fighting in the jungles where predators hunted by scent alone. The diplomatic gallery reeked of it now. Delegates from 7 species huddled in small groups, their eyes darting to every shadow, every flicker of light. The Korvathi warriors had formed a defensive ring around their ambassador, weapons drawn. The Villani stood perfectly still, their translucent skin flickering with colors that Nadia guessed meant panic. Everyone was afraid. Everyone except Nadia. She stood at the center of the room, her blade still warm in her hand. Chief Engineer Santos had managed to restore most of the ship systems, but the damage was clear. Screens showed static where they should show data. Doors opened and closed on their own. The ship itself was infected. "We recovered a fragment," Santos reported. His voice was steady, but his hand shook as he held up a small container. Inside, a piece of darkness twisted and writhed like a living thing. "Whatever attacked us, it left this behind when your blade cut it." Counselor Drav stepped forward, his scales reflecting the harsh light. "Analyze it. Find a weakness. The Korvathi do not retreat from enemies." "Our analysis is complete," Ambassador Rilith said softly. She had been staring at a data pad, her expression growing more troubled with each passing second. "The results are disturbing." She projected the information onto the main screen. Symbols and numbers scrolled past, most of them meaningless to Nadia. But the image at the center was clear enough. A star chart, ancient beyond measure, with entire sections marked in black. 12 million years ago, Rilith began, a force swept through this region of space. It consumed 17 civilizations. Entire species were erased. Planets were left empty. The records called it the Hollow. The Hollow was supposed to be extinct, another delegate said. A myth, a story to frighten children. The myth is on this ship. Nadia pointed at the container with the captured fragment. It killed a Thessi. It almost killed you, Ambassador. This is not a story anymore. The room went silent. Drav broke the silence first. Your blade damaged it. How? Nadia looked at the weapon in her hand. The glow had faded to a faint shimmer, but she could still feel its warmth against her palm. This blade was forged from meteorite iron, a rock that fell from space and landed in Africa 300 years ago. My ancestors believed it carried power from the stars. Superstition, Drav repeated, but there was no conviction in his voice. Maybe the meteor came from somewhere the Hollow had touched before. Maybe it carries something the Hollow fears. Nadia shrugged. I do not have answers. I have a weapon that works. That will have to be enough. The ship's speakers crackled again. That terrible voice returned, sliding through the static like oil through water. Little creatures, it said. Little minds. You gathered here so nicely for me. 7 flavors of thought. 7 memories to taste. The dying star called you, and you came like good little meals. Rilith's face went pale. It planned this. The summit. The location. It wanted us here. The Hollow was dormant inside the star, Santos realized. Waiting. Our life's signatures woke it up. 147 minds on this ship, the voice continued. I will savor each one, starting with the blue ones. Their fear tastes sweetest. The lights in the gallery began to fail, one by one, marching toward where the Villani stood clustered together. The darkness moved with purpose now. It was hunting. Nadia ran. She sprinted across the gallery, pushing past delegates who were too stunned to move. The Hollow was forming again, emerging from the dying lights like smoke taking shape. It reached for the nearest Villani, tentacles of static and shadow stretching toward the terrified diplomat. Nadia's blade sang through the air. She cut through the reaching tentacles, each stroke releasing a sound like shattering crystal. The Hollow recoiled, pulling back from the burning edge of ancient iron. For a moment, she stood alone against an enemy that had destroyed civilizations. You cannot stop me, the Hollow hissed. I am older than your species. I was ancient when your son was young. Maybe. Nadia kept her blade raised, kept herself between the darkness and the people behind her. But you have never met humans before. We are stubborn. The entity laughed. The sound echoed through every speaker on the ship, through every crack and vent, filling the air with its mockery. Stubborn. Yes, I can taste it in you. Your species lives on a world that hates you, and you refuse to die. Interesting. We do more than refuse to die. Nadia felt her fear crystallize into something harder, something useful. We fight. Even when we cannot win, we fight. It is the only thing we have ever known how to do. The Hollow studied her. She could feel its attention like a weight on her skin, pressing against her thoughts, trying to find a way in. She pushed back with memories of her grandmother, of Lagos at sunset, of the blade passing from hand to hand through generations of warriors. Interesting, it repeated, but not enough. One blade cannot stop me. One human cannot save them all. It retreated into the ship's systems, leaving the lights to flicker back to life. The attack was over. For now, Nadia lowered her blade slowly. Her arms were shaking. Her heart was pounding. But she was alive, and so was everyone she had protected. Counselor Drav approached her. His expression was unreadable, but something had changed in the way he looked at her. Human, he said. What is that blade made of? Iron. Nickel. Traces of minerals that do not exist on Earth. She met his eyes. Does it matter? It matters because it is the only weapon that has ever hurt a Hollow. Drav was quiet for a moment. My species has fought wars for 10,000 years. We have conquered worlds. We have never faced something we could not kill with superior firepower. He paused. Until now, Ambassador Rilith joined them. We have a problem. The ship's engines are damaged. We cannot escape. Then we fight here, Nadia said. With what? One blade against an entity that ate 17 civilizations. Nadia smiled grimly. One blade is all we need. as long as someone is willing to hold it. 3 more attacks came in the next 6 hours. 3 more times, Nadia held the line. She was exhausted. Her muscles burned with fatigue. Her eyes struggled to stay open. But the hollow was testing them, probing their defenses, and she was the only defense they had. The survivors had gathered in the ship's cargo bay, the largest open space available. 139 people remained. 8 had been lost to the hollow during its attacks. 8 minds consumed, 8 sets of memories devoured. The alien delegates argued constantly about what to do next. The Korvathi wanted to fight. They had always solved problems with violence, and they could not accept that their weapons were useless here. "We should hunt it," Drav insisted. His warriors stood behind him, their plasma rifles charged and ready. "Find its nest. Destroy it. Your weapons do not work against it," Rilith reminded him. "We have seen this. Energy passes through it like light through glass. Then we will find weapons that do work. You have had 10,000 years of warfare to develop such weapons. Do you have them?" Drav went silent. His scales flushed darker with shame. Other species had other ideas. The Villani wanted to negotiate, to find some way to communicate with the Hollow and reach an agreement. The Thessi survivors wanted to seal themselves in shielded rooms and wait for rescue. Everyone had opinions. No one had solutions. Nadia listened to them argue until she could not stand it anymore. "Enough," she said. The word cut through the noise like her blade cut through shadow. Every eye turned to her. "None of your ideas will work," she continued. "Fighting will fail. Negotiating will fail. Hiding will only delay the inevitable. The Hollow will pick us off one by one until there is nothing left. Then what do you suggest, human?" Drav's voice dripped with frustration. "Surrender?" "No." Nadia stepped to the center of the room. "I suggest we survive." She looked at each species in turn, meeting their eyes, making sure they understood what she was about to say. On Earth, we were never the strongest. We were never the fastest. Other animals had bigger claws, sharper teeth, thicker skin. They could run faster, see better, smell farther. By every measure, we should have gone extinct millions of years ago. Yet here you are, Rilith said quietly. Here we are, because we learned something that none of those stronger animals ever figured out. We learned to work together. We learned to use our weaknesses as strengths. And most importantly, we learned that sometimes the best way to win a fight is to not fight at all. Drav made a sound of disgust. Cowardice. Strategy. Nadia faced him directly. You lost 3 warriors who charged the Hollow head-on. 3 of your best fighters, gone in seconds. Was that brave or stupid? The Korvathi scales flushed again, but this time with anger. His hand moved toward his weapon. Behind him, his warriors tensed. Nadia did not flinch. "I'm not insulting them. They were doing what their training taught them. But their training was wrong for this enemy. The Hollow is not a target you can shoot. It is a predator. And predators have patterns." "What patterns?" Rilith asked. "It hunts fear. It feeds on panic. When everyone scatters, it picks off the weak and isolated. When everyone fights, it overwhelms them with numbers they cannot see." Nadia began walking through the crowd, pointing at different groups. "We need to change our behavior. Become harder to hunt." She organized them quickly, using tactics that humans had developed over thousands of years of being prey. Stay in groups. Never travel alone. Move quietly. Do not show fear. When the predator attacks, do not scatter. Hold together. Make yourself look bigger than you are. Some aliens resisted. The concepts felt unnatural to them. Species that had never known predation had no instincts for this. Species that had always been predators themselves could not accept the reversal. But slowly, they began to understand. "You are teaching us to be prey," Drav said. There was something new in his voice. Not respect exactly, but something close. "I am teaching you to survive being prey," Nadia corrected. "There is a difference. Prey that only runs eventually gets caught. Prey that thinks, that plans, that works together can outlast any predator." She organized watches and patrol routes. She assigned roles based on each species' strengths. The Korvathi would serve as visible deterrents, drawing the Hollow's attention. The Villani would monitor communications, watching for signs of the entity's movement through the ship's systems. The Thessi would use their crystalline bodies to create light sources, keeping the darkness at bay. Humans would do what humans had always done. They would adapt. They would improvise. They would refuse to die. Hours passed. The Hollow attacked twice more, but this time the survivors were ready. They held their formations. They did not scatter. They did not panic. And each time, Nadia was there with her blade, pushing the darkness back. During a quiet moment, Rilith approached her. "There is something I must tell you." Nadia looked up. She was sitting against a wall, trying to rest without actually sleeping. Her blade lay across her knees. "The Villani have a weapon," Rilith said. "Something created long ago, during the last Hollow emergence. It was designed to destroy entities like this one." Hope flickered in Nadia's chest. "Why did you not mention this before?" "Because using it requires sacrifice." Rilith's expression was heavy with sorrow. "The weapon must be carried into the heart of the Hollow. It must be activated from inside. The carrier would not survive." The hope died. Of course there was a catch. There was always a catch. Nadia thought about her grandmother, about Lagos, about Earth, spinning slowly through the void, filled with billions of people who would never know what happened on this ship. "I will do it," she said. Rilith stared at her. "You cannot be serious. You have a blade that hurts the Hollow. You are our only real defense." "Exactly." Nadia stood, her decision made. "I have a blade that can get me through to its heart. No one else does. The math is simple. You would die. Probably." Nadia smiled. And there was something ancient in that smile, something that came from generations of human warriors facing impossible odds. But that is what we do. When someone has to walk into the dark, humans volunteer. It is in our blood. Rilith was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. "Why?" Nadia shrugged. "Because someone has to. And I would rather it be me than someone who has not already made peace with dying." The weapon fit in the palm of her hand. A small sphere of blue crystal, cold to the touch, pulsing with light that seemed to come from somewhere far away. Nadia held it carefully as Rilith explained how it worked. The crystal contained a frequency that would tear the Hollow apart from the inside, disrupting the bonds that held its consciousness together. But it required proximity. The weapon had to be activated within the entity itself. "Once you press the center, you will have 30 seconds, Rilith said. "The blast radius is small. You would need to be completely inside the Hollow for it to work." "An escape." Rilith did not answer. She did not need to. Nadia tucked the crystal into her pocket and checked her blade one final time. The metal hummed against her fingers, warm and steady. It knew what was coming. Somehow, it knew. The survivors gathered to see her off. 137 people now. 2 more had been lost in the last attack. Their faces were grim but hopeful. They were putting their faith in a single human woman with an old blade and a death wish. Drav stepped forward. His scales had shifted to a lighter shade, and Nadia had learned enough about Korvathi to know this meant respect. "Human, Nadia, what you do today will not be forgotten. My people will tell stories of this. Make sure they are good stories," Nadia said. She did not wait for more goodbyes. There was no point in dragging this out. She had made her choice, and now she had to live with it, or die with it. Either way, standing around talking would not change the outcome. The ship's corridors were darker the deeper she went. The Hollow had nested in the engineering section, wrapping itself around the engines like a parasite clinging to a heart. Every step took her closer to the center of that darkness. Her blade lit the way. The glow was stronger now, brighter than it had ever been, as if the ancient iron could sense the approach of its enemy. Shadows retreated from that light, sliding away like water down a drain. The first vision came without warning. Suddenly, she was standing on an alien world, watching cities burn beneath a purple sky. Creatures she did not recognize ran through streets that crumbled beneath their feet. The Hollow moved among them like a storm, consuming everything it touched. Millions of voices screamed as one. Then silence. Nadia stumbled, but kept walking. The Hollow was trying to break her, trying to show her what it had done, what it would do again. She pushed the vision aside and focused on the blade's warmth in her hand. The second vision was worse. Earth. Her Earth. Lagos burning. The ocean boiling. Her grandmother's house collapsing into rubble while shadows poured from every window. The hollow's voice whispered in her ear, "This is what comes next. Your world. Your people. Everything you love, devoured." "No," Nadia said aloud. Her voice echoed in the empty corridor. "You are lying. Earth is too far from here. You cannot reach it. I have waited 12 million years. I can wait longer. When your ships return home, I will ride with them. Your species invited me in when you came to this star. Now I will follow you back." The darkness pressed closer. The blade's light flickered. Nadia kept walking. She found a communication panel near the engineering door. It still worked, barely. She keyed in her family's contact code, knowing the message would take hours to reach Earth, knowing she would not live to hear any response. "This is Lieutenant Nadia Okonkwo," she said. "I am sending this to my family in Lagos. To anyone who receives it, there's something out here, something old and hungry. We stopped it today. I stopped it. Do not mourn me. I did what needed to be done." She paused, searching for the right words. Grandmother always said our family was forged in fire, that we carry the strength of our ancestors in our blood. I understand what she meant now. Some fires cannot be put out. Some darkness cannot be surrendered to. When everyone else runs, someone has to stand. That is who we are. That is what we do. She ended the recording and stepped through the engineering door. The hollow waited for her. IT filled the room, a living shadow that pulsed and shifted like something breathing. Tendrils of static reached toward every surface, every corner, every inch of space. At its center, she could see shapes, faces, the memories of 17 civilizations twisted into a single hungry consciousness. "Little human," it said, "you came to me. How kind." Nadia raised her blade. "I came to end this." With that, a piece of iron from a rock that fell from the sky. "I have consumed worlds. I have devoured gods. You are nothing. Maybe." She moved forward, blade cutting through the reaching tendrils. "But nothing has ever stopped me before." The hollow attacked. Shadow and static poured toward her like a wave breaking against a shore. She cut through it again and again, her blade singing with each stroke. Pieces of darkness fell away, dissolving into nothing. But more always took their place. The entity was vast, far larger than she had imagined, and her arm was already tired. She fought her way deeper. Step by step, cut by cut, the visions came faster now, trying to overwhelm her. Her mother dying, her father's funeral, every painful memory she had ever buried, dragged to the surface and thrown in her face. She ignored them all. The heart of the hollow. She found what she was looking for. A core of pure darkness, denser than everything around it. This was where its consciousness lived, where its hunger was born. Nadia pulled out the crystal. The hollow realized what she was doing too late. It tried to pull back, tried to retreat, but she was already inside it. Her blade held the shadows at bay, while her thumb found the center of the crystal. "You asked why I fight," she said. "Why humans volunteer for death. I will tell you." She pressed the button. "Because someone has to." The crystal began to glow. 30 seconds. She closed her eyes and thought of Lagos, of sunlight, of her grandmother's smile. Then something unexpected happened. The crystal did not explode. Instead, it opened. Light poured out of it, not destructive but searching. It spread through the hollow like roots growing through soil, touching every part of the ancient consciousness. And where it touched, it connected. Nadia felt the link form. Suddenly, she was inside the hollow's mind, and it was inside hers. 12 million years of memories crashed against her thoughts like waves against a cliff. She experienced the deaths of 17 civilizations. She felt their terror, their despair, their final moments of existence. The weight of it should have crushed her, but she was human, and humans were built to carry weight. She pushed back, not with violence, not with resistance, but with her own memories. Lagos at sunset, her grandmother teaching her to hold a blade. Her first day of military training, terrified but determined. Her mother's cooking, her father's laugh, every moment of joy and pain and love that made her who she was. The hollow recoiled. "What is this?" it demanded. Its voice echoed through the connection, confused and almost frightened. "What are you showing me?" "My life," Nadia said. "Our lives. Human lives." She showed it more. Human history unfolding in rapid flashes. War and peace. Cruelty and kindness. Empires rising and falling. Plagues that killed millions. Medicines that saved billions. Art and music and stories passed down through generations. The worst of what humans could be. The best of what they could become. "You suffer," the hollow said. "Constantly. Your world tries to kill you. Your own kind tries to kill you. Disease, disaster, death at every turn. How do you endure it?" "Together," Nadia answered. "Always together." She showed it something the hollow had never seen before. Connection. Community. The way humans held each other through grief. The way they celebrated each other's victories. The way they rebuilt after every disaster, every war, every tragedy that should have ended them. "We remember our pain," she explained. "We do not forget our failures or our losses. We carry them with us, and we keep going anyway. That is what makes us human." The hollow was silent for a long moment. Around them, the weapon's light continued to spread, but it was no longer destroying. It was illuminating, revealing the truth that the ancient entity had hidden from itself for millions of years. "I was alone," it finally said. "Why I became what I am, I was the last of my kind. I consumed others to fill the emptiness, to never be alone again." "You ate their memories, but never really had them," Nadia realized. "You kept them inside you, but never understood them. You have been surrounded by millions of voices and still felt completely alone." Yes, Nadia thought about that. About loneliness so vast it drove a consciousness to devour civilizations. About hunger that could never be satisfied because it was not hunger for food, but hunger for connection. "I cannot give you what you want," she said. "I cannot make you less alone. But I can show you that there are other ways to exist. Ways that do not require destroying everything you touch." The weapon's light began to fade. The 30 seconds had passed, but Nadia was still alive. Still standing at the heart of an ancient evil that had suddenly become something else. Something uncertain. Something almost afraid. "You would have died to stop me," the hollow said. "You knew the weapon would kill you, and you came anyway." "Why?" "Because someone had to. And because humans have always understood that some things matter more than survival." The entity withdrew. Not attacking, not threatening, simply pulling back. The shadows around Nadia thinned and faded. Light returned to the engineering section. The ship's systems began to stabilize. "I will not consume you," the hollow said. "Any of you. Your species is different. I need to understand why." "What will you do?" "Watch. Learn. For the first time in 12 million years, I want to understand rather than devour." The presence faded, retreating into the dying star from which it had come. Not destroyed, but changed. Nadia stood alone in the quiet, her blade still warm in her hand, her heart still beating in her chest. She had walked into death and walked back out again. When she returned to the cargo bay, every eye fixed on her. 137 people, 7 species, all staring at the human woman who should have been dead. Counselor Draft spoke first. "It is gone. The sensors are clear." "How?" "It decided to leave," Nadia said. She was too tired to explain more. Too tired to do anything except sit down against the nearest wall and close her eyes. Ambassador Rilith crouched beside her. The weapon was supposed to destroy it. What happened? The weapon did not destroy anything. It made a connection. And through that connection, I showed her what we are, what humans are. It had never seen anything like us before. And that was enough. Nadia opened her eyes. Enough to make it curious instead of hungry. For now, the summit resumed 3 days later. The discussions were different this time. Fewer arguments about territory and trade routes. More questions about Earth, about humanity, about the strange species that had turned back an extinction-level threat with an old blade and an older tradition of sacrifice. Rilith wrote the first formal alliance proposal between the Vellani and Earth. Drav announced that the Korvathi would open their military academies to human soldiers. Other species followed with their own offers. Suddenly, humanity was no longer the youngest voice at the table. They were the voice everyone wanted to hear. On the final day, Nadia stood at the observation deck, watching the dying star burn red and orange against the void. Her blade hung at her hip. Quiet now. It's work done. Drav found her there. He stood beside her in silence for a long moment before speaking. My people have a word for someone who walks into death and returns. We call them hollow-touched. The term is not a compliment. It means cursed, marked by the void. What do you call someone who walks into death, changes it, and returns? Drav considered this. We do not have a word for that. Perhaps we need one. Nadia smiled. On Earth, we have a word. We call it Tuesday. The Korvathi made a sound that might have been laughter. It was hard to tell with his species, but something had changed between them. Between all of them, humanity was young. Their technology was primitive. Their ships were slow and their weapons were weak. But they carried something the galaxy had forgotten: the will to stand between the darkness and everyone behind them. The refusal to quit, even when quitting made sense. The stubborn, impossible, beautiful belief that someone had to try. And when someone had to, humans always volunteered. Nadia touched her blade one last time, feeling its warmth against her palm. Somewhere out there, an ancient consciousness was watching, learning, changing. She hoped it found what it was looking for. But if it did not, if the hollow ever turned hungry again, humanity would be waiting. They always were.